Welcome back, my passive income investors. Why the heck do I have over 15 bank accounts, half of those being brokerage accounts? And no, none of this is intentional. Just as my business scaled, it just kind of so happened to be this way. And as I usually do, I'm going to give you guys an in-depth view of course, of my 300K that I have in the brokerage accounts specifically. And I'm going to generalize what each of these accounts are good for and the tax advantages that come with them, because I think this is helpful to new investors, as I don't really touch base on this a whole lot. So in the clarity of my transparency, do the channel a favor, folks, hit that like button, and let's kick it off by talking about my Scotiabank first. Okay, what we're looking at here is the general TFSA. I talk about this a lot. It is a tax-free savings account. In the US, you guys aren't even as fortunate to have a counterpart similar to this, because basically I pay tax on my money as I earn it. Once it goes under the umbrella of the TFSA, all the money it makes in perpetuity is 100% tax-free. Now, there are some other obligations that come with buying US stocks, but however, I can pull this money out whenever I so please and spend it without having tax implications. I mention this account the most, and in this umbrella of the TFSA, I have two separate brokerage accounts, a Canadian and a US account. Now, I do this separately because it allows me to collect different currencies that I can use as I please. And this is also why I have so many regular bank accounts within Scotiabank, because I want to be able to pull that US out and leave it in a US bank account, because obviously you can't withdraw cash from any of these brokerage accounts, right? So actually in my bank accounts, I have four. I have three savings accounts within Scotiabank that I primarily use just for tax reasons and personal income reasons. And then I have the US account that I only use just to pull USD and move it around where I can actually hold it in my hand as cash. But moving into the other brokerage account that I talk about is usually my managed account. This is like a short-term Parker place for my cash to invest when I can't utilize my tax advantaged accounts. And I've done a lot of shuffling in here, but this is just a general account that's linked to my Scotiabank, and I need to open up a US account in here as well, but I'm mainly just holding Canadian stocks that pay dividends. And then of course my Facebook, which by the way, all-time highs here, guys, should have bought more. And then finally my RR to the S to the P, the registered retirement savings plan, the least favorite, the most similar to your 401ks and your Roth IRAs in the US, because this allows me to make money. As I put it in this account, it defers me paying tax on that capital today to when I retire and withdraw it is when I end up getting the tax implications. And right now I'm only holding US companies in here, even though I do have a Canadian counterpart to this brokerage account. And I'm thinking about consolidating this to just owning primarily index funds, because I don't plan on touching this for the next 35 years. And, you know, it'd probably be better just to put some securities in here that I don't have to worry about looking at all the time, right? But those are all the accounts that sit under my Scotiabank umbrella, I'm going to say. And even in there, I have multiple credit cards and line of credits and margin accounts that I'm not really utilizing right now, but that's just with this. So let's go into the other half of the business here when we're talking about Royal Bank. Because yes, I use two different bank accounts altogether, two different banks. Royal Bank is how I operate my business. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a corporate investment account. Everything I hold under these umbrellas are not in my personal name. They're much more protected, much more tax advantage from anything that I'm going to earn doing a regular job, let's say. So within here, I actually, before we talk about this brokerage account, I have four different bank accounts. I have a regular bank account with a US account counterpart, and then I have a corporate bank account with also a US counterpart. So I don't leave any money in the personal account. I always shuffle all of this money as my business into the corporate account, and I've got about 20,000+ sitting in there, which instead of pulling it out into my personal name, I shift it into the corporate investment account, currently worth about 37,000. That also has a Canadian and US counterpart. And I know this gets really confusing with all these different currencies, but I think it's more appropriate from a risk tolerated level to have a diversified currency portfolio. You can see I was buying Facebook and Google when the dollar was worth a little bit more. This is stuff people do not take into account with their brokerages. Like if you live in the US and you're only buying US securities with US dollars, well, if the dollar tanked 10-15% like it did over the last year, if you pulled all those money out of your stocks, they're technically worth 10 or 15% less, because that's the devalued dollar that you've been using to buy those securities, if that makes any sense at all. But let's get into the final accounts, because this is mostly around my corporation. I also have a Wealthsimple account, guys. Now the Wealthsimple, I know they do fractional shares. I know they let you do commission-free trading on like Canadian stocks and US. I don't like that you can't buy or open a US brokerage account within this, but primarily I'm just holding my crypto in here, which by the way, I'm just getting slaughtered on this. I'm down like what, 44%. People don't really like the idea of buying crypto through brokerage accounts because I can never hold the crypto. I can never trade it or use it to buy things or do whatever I have to do with it. I actually have to sell it to get the capital out. But I like the fact that Wealthsimple insures the Bitcoin, if in case it ever gets stolen or something happens, up to like hundreds of millions on their own end, and they're using really secure platforms to store it. So I use this to not divvy my eggs into different baskets, right? I don't want all my eggs in one basket. So I also own a crypto wallet. The wallet I like the most because this is where I actually hold the crypto, worth about $1,660 in this account. And this is kind of how I divvied up this real speculative investment, this thing called Bitcoin that Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey and the Kathy Woods have been really pumping up lately. But I'm thinking about buying a little more, but that'll be a video for a different day. And then I still have a PayPal account. That's definitely got a few thousand in there that I'm primarily using for like international money transfer as it stands today. But this is a lot. I mean, this was never intended to have this much. I've spent my life trying to simplify my portfolios, but it's just a matter as things evolve. This is what will end up happening, guys. So the way I've kind of brought it all together, as I usually show you, is on this spreadsheet. I wish I was paying more attention in school to how spreadsheets work because I never realized how applicable it is when you start scaling your wealth, because obviously you want to pay attention to the diversification you have. Things are generally unchanged over last week. My accounts are still worth about $314,000. I have not updated this spreadsheet as of last week, but I will be doing it sometime over the weekend here. And if you guys want to track your portfolio in a similar way and keep track of your bank accounts, I highly recommend coming to the chartmaster.com. A shameless plug here of spreadsheets that we put together. Buy one, get them all for free. No subscription here, guys. And if you want to buy the crypto one, it is sold separately. However, so boom, 7 years of investing, saving, hard work, and starting corporations leads you down the rabbit hole of having over 15 different brokerage accounts that God knows becomes a nightmare to manage, and they all have different reasons. If we actually utilize the credit cards into the 15 accounts that I currently hold for capital and my investments, that would put me up to about 20, because yes, I do have like 5 credit card accounts, line of credit accounts, all for different stuff. But I want to pass the question off to you. What do you guys think about this? You think this is crazy? Is this something that you're doing? I'd love to hear about it in that comment section below. But in light of this, stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you tomorrow.